Hello, everyone. Can someone type in chat if they can hear me? I want to check to make sure my audio is working. Perfect. Seems like our audio is working. I'll give this another 30 seconds or so, and we'll get started. I want to encourage everyone to ask questions throughout the webinar. It'll help lead the discussion. I have my stuff to talk about, and then answering questions will also help. And then at the end, we'll also have a question and answer segment. But today we're going to be just talking about tournament stacks and adjustments you need to be making on your stack sizes in tournaments. I think it's one of the easier fixes people can make, but it's also one of the bigger mistakes that I think weaker players are making in tournaments right now, not making these adjustments to their ranges based off of stack sizes. So it's 1 o'clock now. Let's go ahead and get started. This question stemmed from, I had a student that made day 2 of a $300 buy-in tournament. He had a big stack of 100 big blinds, but there was a lot of short stacks. It was a $300 buy-in, so it's, a more turbo-y structure. And he's asking, what adjustments do I need to be making as stack sizes shrink, or more importantly for him, how stacks vary from player to player. So when I have 100 big blinds, but other players have 25 big blinds, what adjustments should I be making? And I think the most important question is, how are my ranges affected by these stack sizes? And that's what we're going to be looking at today. So to start off, we're going to kind of get into the basics, hand values and stack depths. And this is kind of the meat and potatoes of this webinar and kind of the most important part to take out of it. And this is kind of the easy, quick adjustments that you need to make with stack sizes. So first 2 bullet points are the kind of the most important generalizations. So as stack sizes decrease, the value of big offsuit cards increase. And as stack sizes increase, the value of suited connectors, also small pocket pairs, increase. So there's kind of a inverse relationship between the two, and it's really important which types of hands you should be playing based off what your stack size is. So at 150 big blinds deep, so this would be, the first couple hours of a tournament, first few levels of a tournament, you want hands that can make better than 1 pair. Now, that's a little misleading comment because any 2 unpaired cards have the same exact chance of making 2 pair. For example, Ace King has the same exact chance of making 2 pair as Deuce 3, without taking into consideration like card removal and stuff. But the benefit of Ace King is Ace King can make the nut straight. Let's look at even another example of a hand like 10-9 suited. 10-9 suited, yeah, it can make 2 pair, but it can also make a ton of straights and flushes. So we're really looking at suitedness and connectedness when we're playing 150 big blinds deep. That's the biggest thing you need to take away from this. When we're 50 big blinds deep, you want hands that can make good top pairs. So, for example, let's look at a hand like King-Jack offsuit versus 10-9 suited. At 150 big blinds deep, 10-9 suited is an amazing hand because you make a ton of straights. You can make, I don't even know how many combinations of straight is, but the 6-7-8, the 8 Queen-Jack, and then you can also make flushes. Versus King-Queen, you can make Broadway, a couple different straights, but you can't make any flushes, and it makes the playability of the hand much worse. But at 50 big blinds, King-Queen on a King-8-4 board becomes a really, really powerful hand. And as we get into stack to pot ratios later on, we will find out that it's easier to stack off with good top pairs when you're 50 big blinds deep versus when you're 150 big blinds deep. You need a lot better than a good top pair to stack off. So I want to look at these 2 ranges here on the right that we have. The top range is going to be kind of this is like a middle position opening range at 150 big blinds. As you can see, we're playing all the suited aces, all the suited 8s, all these suited connectors, suited 1 gappers like 9-7 suited, 8-6 suited, 7-5 suited, and all pocket pairs. But take a look at the offsuit combos. We're only raising Ace King off, Ace Queen off, King Queen off, and Ace Jack offsuit. So that's only 4 different types of offsuit hands that we're going to be raising, and that's really important when we're playing 150 big blinds deep in middle position. Just take a look at how suited heavy this range is. And it's very suited, pocket pair heavy. And this sets us up really well post flop at 150 big blinds because we're playing hands that can make flushes, straights, sets, strong two pairs. And so we're not opening a lot of garbage hands, king 10 off, ace 10 off, ace 9 off, etc. Now this bottom range is a 50 big blind range. And we have three different colors here, and I'll point out at the bottom at the end here. So the color in the red are all those same hands in the 150 big blind range. The blue hands are now hands that we are folding pre-flop at 50 big blinds. So at 50 big blinds, we're no longer raising deuces, threes, fours, 5-4 suited, 6-5 suited, 7-6 suited, 8-6 suited, jack 8, 10-8 suited, and then ace 4, ace deuce suited, the wheel aces, and ace 7 and ace 6 suited. The green are now hands that we are raising at 50 big blinds. So ace 9 off, ace 10 off, king 10 off, king jack, and queen jack. So it looks like we folded like a lot of extra hands. But we added in all these offsuit combos. And when you look at combos, there's 12 ways to make an offsuit hand and 4 ways to make a suited hand. So the kind of thing I want to point out is this range is actually almost the same percentage of hands. We've just shifted our range from these smaller suited connectors, smaller pocket pairs, and smaller suited aces to these offsuit Broadway hands like ace 10 off, king 10 off, king jack. So we took out 70 combos here in blue, 5.3% of hands, so 70 combos, and we added in 60 combos. So we only are raising 0.8% less. So I think this range was like around 19-20%, and now we're raising 19.2%, somewhere around there. Actually, I guess it's like 23. This is like 24%, and this is 23%. So we're not really raising much tighter at 50 big blinds than we were at 150. We've just changed the type of hands that we're raising. So that's the really key thing to pick up out of these two charts here, is how we've shifted our range from small hands to big hands. So, and this is like a middle position range that we're going to be raising. We don't have time today to go through every position. I kind of picked middle position because it's still, we're opening kind of loose, but we are also, it's not like a button range where we're going to be opening 40 to 50% of hands. So just looking through these questions really quick. But so key thing here, see how we've shifted our range from lower suited connectors, lower pairs, to these offsuit Broadway hands. Continuing discussing this, again, we have the two same charts. They're just now all in red. The top one is the 150 big blind chart from middle position. The bottom one is the 50 big blind chart. So now you can kind of see how that range looks with just the 50% or 50 big blind chart down here. So at 150 to 200 big blinds, hand playability is much more important. Suitedness and connectedness of hands is really important, like I talked about in the last slide. Offsuit Broadways and ace X become less valuable. So our hands are all our offsuit aces, basically. We're only opening ace jack off and ace queen off. In early position, I think you can definitely be folding ace jack offsuit. So there's barely any offsuit hands we're opening. Set value of your pocket pairs increases. We are, we're deep enough where we can call 3-bets with our smaller pocket pairs to try to set mine. At shorter stacks, you're not getting the correct implied odds to call 3-bets with these smaller pocket pairs. Now, I will say a little caveat. At 200 big blinds, with these deuces, threes, and fours, you need to be a little careful because you're setting yourself a tiny bit to be set over set. So be wary of that. And the most important thing, strong top pairs cannot stack off. For example, if you have ace king or ace queen and the flop comes ace 7-3 and then the turn is a flush, like basically with that one pair, if you're playing a 400 big blind pot or a 300 big blind pot, you're probably not going to be good with one pair, or you shouldn't be good. At 100 big blinds, this is kind of the middle ground. Your suited connectors and pairs still have some value. the big offsuit combos like ace jack and ace queen become a little bit more valuable with the stack to pot ratio is going to be a little smaller. Strong top pairs can start to play for stacks, especially in 3-bet pots. And your 3-better range is more blocker oriented, but still wants playability. We're going to talk about 3-betting adjustments here in the next slide. Hands like ace jack and ace queen here, what I'm talking about. These come very valuable in 3-bet pots because once you 3-bet, the pot's going to start to get a little bit bloated. So playing a 3-bet pot at 100 big blinds is kind of like playing a single raised pot at 50 big blinds, if that makes sense. So for example, if someone opens to 3 big blinds and you 3-bet to 10 big blinds and they call, the pot's now going to be around 20 big blinds and you're going to have 90 big blinds behind. So there's a 4.5 to 1 stack to pot ratio. We're going to get into that a little bit. Versus at 50 big blinds, when someone raises, you call, you're going to kind of have about that same stack to pot ratio. At 50 big blinds, small pocket pairs begin to lose value. As you can see, we're now folding hands like deuces, 3s, and 4s. Offsuit Broadway hands gain a lot of value. The offsuit Broadway hands gain a lot of value, and any top pair in a 3-bet pot can now stack off in these 3-bet pots. So your 3-better range is more blocker oriented at 50 big blinds. We're going to get into that 3-betting adjustments now. But the key thing still to take away is the suitedness in the top grid at 150 big blinds versus more offsuit hands here playing at the 50 big blinds. So I want to talk a little bit now about adjustments in 3-betting based off stack sizes. And again, we're going to be talking about the types of hands that you want to be making these adjustments with. So at 150 big blinds, your 3-betting range, kind of like your opening range, is going to be very suited connector heavy and very wheel ace suited heavy. So at 150 big blinds here at the top, this is what a 3-bet range might look like. A polarized 3-betting range of jacks or better, ace king, and ace queen suited. Those are our value hands. The more important thing to look at here's our bluffs. We're bluffing with hands like 6-5 suited, 7-6 suited, 8-7 suited. These suited 1 gappers like 9-7, 8-6, and 7-5 suited, 10-9 suited, and ace-5 and ace-4 suited. This would be a very polar, decent 3-betting strategy at 150 big blinds. As you can see, we're value 3-betting about 44 combos and bluffing with 36 combos here. So we're fairly balanced in terms of the number of combos each, and we have good board coverage. So the problem with a lot of weaker players, deep stacked at 150 big blinds, is they 3-bet and call, and they don't bluff enough. And so let's say I'm playing against a player who I perceive to be weak, and I open in middle position, and then a player 3-bets the button, and this player is pretty tight and I don't think has a 3-bet bluffing range. I call. I'm going to put him on this top red range, like jacks, queens, kings, aces, ace king, maybe ace queen suited. Now the flop comes 5, 6, 7. I am just going to pound on him when the flop comes 5, 6, 7 if I don't think he's ever bluffing, because his range is jacks, queens, kings, aces, ace, king. He doesn't hit that board at all. And I'm going to have all these middling pocket pairs and middling suited connectors that he doesn't have. And it's going to be really hard for him to play because I have so many 2-pair straight sets. And so this is kind of why you want to have a bluffing range to protect yourself in those spots. And if you 3-bet a range like this on the button, let's say against a middle position open, now when the flop comes 5, 6, 7, hey, we can have 2-pair, 7, 6. We have all these pair and straight draws. Even if you 3-bet 9, 8 suited, you're going to have a straight. Ace 5 and ace 4 suited, these are great for covering like the deuce 3, 4, 4, 5, all these flush boards. The key thing I want to point out here also is I'm not saying 3-bet these exact hands. You don't have to 3-bet 9, 7 suited. You don't have to 3-bet 10, 9 suited. Like you can 3-bet, it's more the type of hands. You can 3-bet 9, 8 suited. You can 3-bet 5, 4, 6, 4, 7, 4, 8, 5 suited, 9, 6 suited. You want to be three betting these hands are going to play much better at a very deep stack depth that can make straights and flushes and give you some board coverage. Now at 50 big blinds, the range is going to change a lot in terms of where we draw our 3-bet bluffs from, and this is one of the biggest mistakes that players make playing short stack. From Lewis, yeah, hands like ace queen off, ace jack suited, we would be just calling with on the button. This is just the hands that are going to be re-raising with. And from Stan, are ace deuce suited and ace 3 suited that much worse than ace 4 suited and ace 5 suited, or do they just add too many bluffs into our range? It's kind of a combination of both. Like I said before, in the types of hands, you can definitely 3-bet ace 3 and ace deuce suited, but you have that little added equity with the ace 5 and ace 4 suited when our opponent has deuces and 3s. They are better hands. You're going to make a pair of 5s. You're going to have dominating a little bit more when he has 5-6 suited or 5-7 suited and a 5 comes on the flop. It's just, a little bit stronger hand. You just don't want to, you can't be bluffing every combination. But it's just a combination of both. We don't want to be bluffing too much, and ace 5 suited is stronger than ace deuce and has some more equity when called. So at 50 big blinds, the bigger ace-x suited hands are going to be part of our bluffing range, and offsuit Broadway heavy range. So we can have a wider value range at 50 big blinds. So when we're 3-betting off of 50 big blinds, we need less of the value threshold is lower. So when you're 3-betting at 100 or 150 big blinds, you need a stronger hand to stack off because you're risking 150 big blinds. When you 3-bet at 50 big blinds, you can stack off with a little bit less of a hand because you're only risking 50 big blinds. So you can have more hands for value, which also means you can have some more hands for bluffs. So in this value range, we've added a hand like pocket tens, ace queen suited, ace jack suited, ace queen off, king queen suited, kind of into our value range. And our bluffs have changed drastically. We no longer are 3-bet bluffing these smaller suited connectors. Our 3-bet bluffing range has gotten stronger in terms of now we're 3-betting these ace 9, ace 8, ace 5 suited. And then this region here, the ace jack, king jack, ace 10 off, and king 10 off. And the reason, why do we want to start now 3-betting these ace jacks, king 10s, ace 10, king jack off? There's a couple of reasons. First, our 3-betting range now, we're more concerned about blockers to their 4-bet shoving range. So when we 3-bet their range, they're going to call sometimes, but this is starting to get to that stack depth where they can just move all in over our 3-bet. And so we really want to make sure that we're blocking their shoving range. So hands like 10s, jacks, queens, kings, aces, ace king, ace queen, ace jack. These are the types of hands that they might 4-bet shove with over our 3-bet. So with hands like ace jack, ace 10, king jack, we're blocking those hands, so it's less likely that we get shoved on and more likely we get to see a flop. And when we do see a flop with these hands, we're going to flop good, strong top pairs on ace and king high boards where our decisions are going to be really easy post-flop. Now, one of the questions I pose here is like, why would we 3-bet a hand like king 10 offsuit, but not 3-bet king queen offsuit? And I think this is kind of an important concept that I threw in here that I think a lot of people, even really good players, don't get. When you're 3-betting, there's a couple, you're either bluffing or you're 3-betting for value. So your bluffs, you're going to have some equity in the hand. But the main thing you want to happen when you 3-bet a bluff is them to fold a hand that's better than yours. So when we 3-bet a hand like king 10 off, if we get king queen offsuit or king jack offsuit, which are going to be opening in middle position, say middle position opens and we 3-bet on the button with king 10 offsuit, there's a lot of people that are going to fold king jack offsuit for sure, and maybe even king queen offsuit. And now we've just folded out a hand that's 70%, with versus our hand. So we have a much better, we just got them to fold 70% equity, which is a huge win for us. Same with ace 10 offsuit, we can get ace jack to fold. King jack, we can get king queen to fold. You want to be 3-betting a hand. So if we 3-bet king queen, ace queen or ace king are never going to fold. And hands like king 10 offsuit and king jack offsuit are going to fold. So with king queen, not many better hands are going to fold. Ace king and ace queen in particular. The only hands that are going to fold are maybe like low pocket pairs or suited connectors. And king jack and king 10, these hands that we dominate, now fold. So we'd rather just flat with a hand like king queen and let king jack and king 10 stay in the pot. Hopefully we can flop a king, dominate them, and now we might have a good chance of doubling up at 50 big blinds, versus if we 3-bet king queen, they fold king jack, we just lost a really good situation for us. Again, it's not important to remember these exact ranges. These are more examples of types of hands that you want to be 3-betting. You want to focus on categories of hands that, so offsuit broadways at 50 big blinds, wheel suited aces, and middling. The wheel suited aces at 150 big blind, like ace 5 and ace 4 suited, are very good to 3-betting. And then when you get down to 50, we're no longer, we want to be 3-betting more like ace 9 suited, ace 8 suited type hands, rather than being too wheel suited heavy. So someone asked, with ace 5 suited on the other end, I am blocking 1-5 and someone else could have 5-6 suited. So yes, you could be folding out a hand like 5-6 suited, but the really good thing about ace 5 suited is now hands like ace 10 offsuit, ace 9 offsuit, ace jack offsuit, you get a lot of better aces to fold. Even possibly a hand like pocket sixes might throw through your 3-bet. So someone asked, with ace 9 suited, if we get a pair on an ace in a 3-bet pot versus early position, are we okay stacking off with it? No. Again, these ranges I was talking about from the first example, these are more like middle position versus early position. And these examples, while we might not be stacking off, we can at least get 1 or 2 streets of value. The hand becomes much easier to play when we have top pair. So at 50 big blinds here with the ace 9 suited, yeah, we're gonna, if we get a lot of resistance, we'll be more cautious, but the hand's gonna play much easier at 50 big blinds than at 150 big blinds. So keep in mind types of hands that we're going to be 3-betting at 50, types of hands that we're going to be 3-betting at 150, and then the main thing being these suited connectors, suited wheel aces at 150, and then a lot of these offsuit broadways also at 150. I didn't mark them in this example, but again, we're talking about types of hands. Good types of hands to 3-bet would be a hand like king 9 suited, jack 9 suited, 10-9 suited is always a really good hand to 3-bet. And those have the properties of, if we 3-bet a hand like king 9 suited, we're getting hands like king 10 off, king jack off to fold, ace 9 off to fold, and we still have pretty good playability, and we can make good top pairs with king 9, queen 9, jack 9. These suited 9s and suited 8s, this section of the grid, become also decent 3-bets at a 50 big blind stack. So Matthew asked a decent question. Should we be doing more value 3-betting with smaller stacks with ace queen and ace jack? And the answer is yes. Those hands become more value oriented the shorter your stack, especially the suited. So ace queen suited, ace jack suited, I think are very good value 3-bets at 50 big blinds. Players are going to call your 3-bet, and then you're going to flop top pairs that you dominate. Especially because most players are going to jam with their ace-king pre-flop. So ace-queen becomes a very good value 3-bet at 50 big blinds, because you know if they flat call, now they never have ace-king. So 3-betting ace-queen at 50 big blinds is really good because you make them play their range face up, because they're almost always going to just jam with ace-king. And so ace-high boards now are so easy to play with ace-queen. You have the nuts. Versus at 150 big blinds, if you 3-bet ace-queen offsuit, at 150, they might just call with ace-king, so now you still have to be kind of cautious on the ace-high board. So these ace-queen and ace-jack type hands become better 3-bets at 50 big blinds than 150, because ace-king is mostly going to be jamming against your 3-bet, and so you kind of clear up your outs. Stan asks, in our 50 big blind stack range, are we calling off to a 4-bet with all these hands in red, or are we folding the weaker ones like king, queen off, ace jack suited, or even ace queen off? Yes, so against most players, especially if you're playing a small stakes tournament, like let's say you're playing a $300 buy-in tournament and you have 50 big blinds, the caliber of play is not going to be as high. And I would always 3-bet this red range, and then I would fold ace queen off ace queen suited, ace jack suited to the 4-bet jam and the king queen suited, because players are going to play very face up once you 3-bet them. They're going to just 4-bet with their really good hands. But majority of people are just going to call way too much, and you're just getting a lot of value with your ace queen and ace jack. If you're playing against really tough opponents or in a 4-bet jam hands like ace 5 suited or pocket fives, more aggressive opponents, then maybe you can just call with some of those hands, or you can start 3-bet calling those hands as well. But it kind of depends on your opponent there. So let's keep going on this. I'm going to get to some of these questions later. Stack to pot ratio. You've heard me talk about this the first couple times. I want to go over it. Some people may have not heard the term before or not familiar with it. Ties back into everything. Hand playability is driven by SPR, which is what we refer to for stack to pot ratio. So SPR is driven by how stacked deep are. So 2 examples. We're playing 150 big blinds. There's a 3x open from early position. The button calls. The pot is now 8.5 big blinds. So 3 big blinds plus 3 big blinds from the 2 calls. 1.5 big blinds from the small blind and big blind, and 1 big blind from the ante. So it's 8.5 big blinds. Now the effective stacks are 147 big blinds after the raise. So the SPR is 147 divided by 8.5, which is 17 SPR. So you have 17 times the pot left in the stacks left to be played. In the other example, at 50 big blinds, we opened a 2.5x. The button calls. The pot is now 7.5 big blinds. So 2.5 and 2.5, that's 5, plus 1.5 from the 2 blinds, and then a 1 ante. So it's 7.5 big blinds. The stack is 47.5 big blinds now. So your SPR is just over 6 1/3 SPR. So there's a big difference in the stacks left to play. And this is what kind of drives this hand playability and why we choose certain hands to play in our ranges versus others. So these are not hard and fast rules, but just kind of a general rule of thumb. So when you get an SPR of less than 5, your really good top pairs become strong enough to stack off. So for example, we're playing 40 big blinds deep. We raise king queen offsuit in middle position, and the button calls. The pot's 7.5 big blinds. There's 37.5 big blinds left to play. Our SPR is 5. The flop comes queen 8-4, and we know the SPR is 5, and we flopped a really strong top pair now. We're probably starting to plan our strategy to try to get the money in here by the river. We bet 5 big blinds on the flop. Our opponent calls. The pot is now 17.5 big blinds. Stacks are 32, so now the SPR is about 2 now on the turn. The turn is the 7 of diamonds, brings a flush draw. 5-6 gets there. We bet 12.5 big blinds into 17.5, and our opponent calls. So now the pot is 42 big blinds, and the stacks are 20 big blinds. So now the stack to pot ratio on the river is 0.5. There's only 20 big blinds left in the stack and 42 big blinds in the pot. The river's the 9 of hearts, with such a short stack to pot ratio with only 20 big blinds. We shove for half pot. Our opponent, and this is a key point with the SPR, we're playing only 40 big blinds deep. Our opponent is likely to have 3-bet or raised a hand like ace queen or better by the turn due to the shallow stacks. So king queen becomes much stronger hand at this SPR because how ace queen would have played. When we're this shallow, ace queen likely could have just shoved the turn or raised the flop at this point. Same with sets of 8s or any weird 2-pair combos on the flop or 8-7 on the turn. When the stacks are so shallow, they're just incentivized to get the money in now before a bad card comes off or before the board comes too scary. So, you know, I would think in a lot of spots like this, ace queen would have tried to get the money in before the river. And so king queen becomes a much stronger hand versus in our next example we're going to look at. It's just the key point here. It's very easy to get stacks in at a sub 5 SPR without big betting. We bet 2/3 pot, 2/3 pot, and we were only left with a half pot bet on the river. So we could have even bet half pot, and probably shove the river for like 2/3 pot. So when you're less than 5 SPR, it's just so easy to get the money in when you want to. Let's look at the opposite example. When you have an SPR greater than 5, you need to be a little more cautious with top pair hands. So same example, but we're 100 big blinds deep. We raise with king queen off in the middle position and the button calls. Pot 7.5. The stacks are 97.5, and the SPR is 13. The flop comes queen 8-4 rainbow. We bet 5. Our opponent calls. So the pot's 17.5. Stacks are 98.5. So now the stack to pot ratio is a little over 5 on the flop. The turn's the 7 of diamonds, same turn. We bet 12.5, and our opponent calls. So now going in the river, we still have a 2 SPR with 86 big blinds left and 42 in the pot. Versus on the last example, we had half. So the SPR is 4 times as big in this example as the last one. With the river, it's the 9 of hearts. With an SPR 2 here, we cannot get stacks in without overbetting at some point. And the key point here is at this stack depth, our opponent may not have raised ace queen offsuit pre-flop. They might have just called. And the flop or turn with deeper stacks, they might have also just called. They might have used the same logic. I only have 1 pair here. I'm just going to call. I don't want to get 100 big blinds in yet with this hand. He also might have called 2 bets with a hand like Jack 10 suited or 10-9 suited. Specifically Jack 10 suited, making a straight here. It's conceivable like he'd have Jack 10 of diamonds where he called the flop with a gut shot, turned a straight draw. Now he has the nuts. At the shallower stack depths, Jack 10 suited might will probably still shove the turn. So it's more likely there's a lot more hands that could be beating us. We could have gotten floated lighter. There's more 2-pair combos. So villain's range becomes stronger here because he is less likely to stack off on the turn with ace queen versus in the previous example, ace queen is a pretty easy. He could just shove the turn with ace queen at the 50 big blind example. Now when we're at 100 big blinds, ace queen's a really heavy chunk of his range here when we get to the river. So key point here, hand values increase at shallower SPRs. Even weak top pairs are stronger at shallower SPRs, and hand values decrease at deeper SPRs, so it needs stronger hands to stack off. So kind of the same concepts we've been talking about the whole webinar. Just looking through the question. So Matthew asked, what about, queen 9, which would have rivered 2-pair, or Jack 10, which would have rivered a straight? I think queen 9 is probably not calling pre-flop at the 50 big blind example, and it's more likely a hand like queen 9 could have called at the 100 big blind example. Same with Jack 10. Jack 10 offsuit, maybe it calls at 100 big blinds versus at 50 it probably folds. So I just think the ranges are easier to pinpoint ranges at the shallower stacks versus at deeper stacks. Ranges are wider. There's more combinations of random 2 pairs that can be made, more combinations of floats. You're less likely to get floated at a shallow stack depth and a shallow SPR than you are at a very heavy SPR greater than 5. Like you can float a lot more because you have more implied odds, you have more maneuverability on later streets. Like for example, let's say we floated this flop at the... So in this less than 5 SPR, let's say we're the button and we have ace deuce of diamonds. And the button bets 5 big blinds. We call with our backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw. Now the turn is the 7 of diamonds and he bets 2/3 pot. Like we're barely getting the right price to call with our flush draw and over. Like we're getting the right price, but it's not that great of a situation because if we don't hit, we have very little way to win the pot. He's just going to shove the river. We likely won't get a chance to bluff on the river. Versus at 100 big blinds with the SPR greater than 5, I'm more happy to float with a hand like ace deuce of diamonds here because there's another 86 big blinds behind on the turn when we call, when we hit this backdoor flush draw. And we can represent that hand like Jack 10 on the river. We can represent 5-6 more. We can represent a 9-8 that peeled and got sticky on the turn. So there's just more ways to represent at the deeper stack sizes.
Hello everyone, I'm Jonathan Little. I hope you're enjoying the Thanksgiving Day Marathon. I hope you're soaking up all of this great content that we've produced over at pokercoaching.com. And I want to tell you about my Black Friday sale that's taking place right now, where you can get up to 78% off many of the amazing products I've made and my coaches have made over the last few years. So I'm just going to walk you through some of the offerings that we have. We have a bunch of stuff on cash games. I have a lot of videos that I've made about cash games. I've made a pretty good living from playing cash games. And I just have these series here, as you can see, where we discuss beating loose live games, beating tough games like the tough online games, beating 5-10 no limit at Bellagio. We have things going through live at the bike hands, using live at the bike footage. And these are all great resources if you are playing cash games, so check that out. Also, I have the 29-part cash game masterclass where I teach you how to crush cash games all the way up to 5-10 no limit live and medium stakes online. This extensive course has gone a long way to helping many of my students become professional poker players. And that's what I want for you as well. Studying the fundamentals, understanding how to play your ranges, and understanding how to adjust is vitally important. And that's what I teach you here. And also how to be a pro, which includes many things besides exactly playing good poker. There's a lot of good poker players, but a lot of them wreck themselves off the felt, and I make sure my students do not do that. So, for the first time ever, I made a gigantic tournament masterclass. This thing is over 30 hours long, not even including the many hand reviews that I made to go along with this, including wins in regular tournaments, PKO tournaments, and satellites. You can actually only get the Cash Game Masterclass if you are a member of Poker Coaching Premium. And normally, we charge $99 a month for Poker Coaching Premium. But if you subscribe for a 3-year subscription, you can actually get it for less than the regular price of the Poker Coaching Standard membership. You can get 3 years for $1,399. It's a little bit less than $39 per month. And if you want to get good at poker tournaments or cash games, well, this is for you. So let me tell you about the masterclass a little bit. Like I said, over 30 hours long. There are a lot of other training sites out there that want to charge you a bunch of money up front for about 8 hours of content, no quizzes, a few pre-flop charts. That's not what we're doing at Poker Coaching Premium. Here you get access to this masterclass, and so far, literally everything else we've discussed. So in this masterclass, I teach you how to play every stage of the tournament optimally, and how to maximize your equity. I go through pre-flop strategies, post-flop strategies. We compare the implementable strategy that I teach all of my students to use to the GTO solver to confirm that what I'm teaching is actually pretty close to the GTO strategy, but a million times more implementable, so you can pick the best or second best play in essentially every scenario you encounter. And if you do that, you're gonna be better than basically everyone you play against. We also discuss things like tells, mindset, finances, all of that. Everything you need to become a strong tournament player is included in this masterclass. It is big. It's a big course. It's not for everyone. If you want to, play poker 1 hour every 3 months, this is overkill. You don't need that. But if you have any desires to make significant money from poker, this is for you. However, like I said, this is not for sale. You cannot buy it anywhere. It is exclusively available only for Poker Coaching Premium members. And if you're already a Poker Coaching Premium member, you already have access to this. It's already included. Everything we've discussed so far is included. As you can see here, here is a brief table of contents. We discuss pre-flop strategies at various stack depths, because in tournaments you're going to be playing with various stack depths. We also discuss how to play after the flop. Every single one of these bullet points, such as when facing a bet on the flop, that includes multiple implementable strategies, as well as pile solver strategies for numerous flops, numerous common scenarios you're going to be in, so that you know how to encounter, or you know how to play in many common situations that you will encounter. We also have plenty of turn strategies. Ooh, the river strategy section is very, very interesting. We discuss how to structure your range intelligently so that whenever you're betting, you're going to be difficult to play against. And when you're checking, you're going to be difficult to play against. We also, of course, discuss ICM. That's how you play when there are payout applications. We discuss all sorts of various tournament formats like progressive knockout tournaments and bounty tournaments and satellites, etc. We discuss other topics, like I said, mindset, finance, etc. And then we have a bunch of hand history reviews. As you see all of these, each of these hand history reviews is an hour or two long, where I go through all of the major hands that I played really over the last 6 months or so. All of these are pretty recent scores where I was just playing online and grinding it out. And we ended up winning a bunch of money, so that's lucky. Also, we have a poker coaching membership where you get access to loads of content. Also, we have lots and lots of classes. We have a monthly homework assignment that I go through and make sure all the students are playing well. We have a Discord channel. We have a vibrant community. All of that is there at pokercoaching.com. Regular price is $39 per month, but if you sign up for a 3-year membership, it's $299 for 3 years, which comes out to $8.30 per month. How much is that per day? Not a lot, like 30 cents per day. Hate to break it to you. If you have any desire to be good at poker, you probably need to be spending more than 30 cents per day on high-level educational content like we have at pokercoaching.com. Here's one of my students, Blas Zerjau. You may have heard of him. He turned $5 into 1.3 million on Party Poker a few years ago. And then just recently, this last year, he turned $100 into $400,000 again on Party Poker. He says pokercoaching.com has helped him lay strong foundations to excel at no-limit hold'em games and to further work on his game with my help. He's absolutely crushing it. His results are not typical. I don't have results that good over the last few years, but he has been absolutely crushing it. He's been a Poker Coaching member for a very long time. Like we said, you can get Poker Coaching Premium now for less than the price of Poker Coaching Standard if you sign up for 3 years. As you see, loads and loads and loads and loads of content. I didn't even mention our GTO preflop charts. We have extensive GTO preflop charts. There's an app for your phone. You can access those on your phone, and the vast majority of the material we discussed here. We also have 30-day challenges to give you little bits of content every day to ensure that you are working hard and developing good study habits. Because if you study even 30 minutes a day, every day, you're going to be really good at poker in about a year or so. So we make sure that all of our students are doing that. Like I said, you can get 3 years for only $1,399. Check it out at pokercoaching.com/Black Friday. And understand that I created Poker Coaching Premium to give you all the tools and training that you will ever need to achieve your full potential as a poker player. That is what I want for you. But if for some reason you think I have failed to deliver on that promise, I do not want or deserve your money. I am not running a training site here where I'm just trying to get your money up front and then quit poker and not teach you anything else and not provide additional content. We are consistently hiring the best players in the world to teach you how to succeed at poker. And if you think I fail at that, ask me for a refund and I will give it to you. No questions asked. You have 30 days after you sign up. If you don't like it, ask for a refund. No questions asked. You'll get your money back because, look, if I don't help you, I don't deserve it. Simple as that. I don't really know how I can be any more fair. So that's it. Hope you are enjoying this Thanksgiving Day marathon. Thank you very much for taking time to watch it. Hope you learn a little bit. Hope you learn a lot. You might as well. And again, if you want to sign up for pokercoaching.com to get access to all of this stuff that we've discussed, I know it's a lot, but if you want access to all of this stuff, go to pokercoaching.com/Black Friday. Happy Thanksgiving. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of the show.